in. We are in the Digital Transformation Boost, one of our most important events with the Americas. It's an event that this year will take place in Jamaica next week. We'll be in Jamaica having like a business table and global services, technology services, among others, to promote the service exports and strengthen the services in the importing of services in our region. We are in this week of learning with all of you, so be welcome to this learning week in order to talk about different topics that are very interesting for the entrepreneurs of services. So we are going to spend all this week talking about 5 keys for marketing for a global service company. We have Ana Paula Schmidl. I will introduce her. Tomorrow we'll talk about the factoring to the service of internationalization. Then we're going to talk about how to manage remote teams. Then we'll talk about cash flow and liquidity. And then we'll close our learning week with a session with a very nice company of marketing based on data that will talk to us about welfare to thrive and something related to the startups. So I'm going to introduce our presenter, Ana Paula Schmidl. She's an entrepreneur. She has been working for more than 10 years on digital marketing and marketing for service companies. She has also been working with technology topics, and she's the founder of Balmes company. She will talk a little bit about her company, Balmes, and about the services they offer. She's the founder, and she will talk to us about the 5 keys of marketing for a service company. Balmes is an Uruguayan company. And then I'm going to give the floor to Ana Paula. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Hello, how are you? I'm going to start sharing my screen in order to start with my presentation. Thank you very much to Conecta Americas team for this invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm from Paraguay, Ciudad del Este, working with you today. I'm going to share my screen so that you can see my presentation. So today we are going to we're going to talk about marketing for global service companies. And as an owner of a service company and technological services, what I found the last years was that the internet started to grow. And I'm in a place where I always did global business because I'm at the border. I'm in Ciudad del Este in Paraguay. And the other to the other side of the bridge is Brazil, and the other side of the bridge is Argentina. So in my market, doing global businesses is something that is very natural. We've done it every day. We have like 38 cultures and nationalities, and the international trade is very, very strong here. But when the internet arrived, well, that reality that was like for me since when I was born as a company in 2005, all the companies that work on the global sector doing businesses realized that they could be negotiating with the world. So thanks to the internet, we found out that we can do global businesses and at a very fast speed. But the question is if our company is prepared for that, because there are many adjustments that we need to do in order to compete or to think about competing in a global scenario. So we are going to see a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we are going to talk about marketing. About me, as Camila mentioned, I am Ana Paula Schmidl. I'm an engineer in marketing and advertisement. I'm the founder of Malmosh, and I'm the partner of Adepcom. It's a Maltech company. We have 2 divisions. One works with services related to marketing and with a 360 approach that is very strategic. And the other division is dedicated to technology. We are especially experts in technology associated to marketing. And then we give services to companies that work with SAAB for REP. Advcom is a company with a partnership with Chile, and we work with everything that has to do with factory services, software, and also compromise solutions. We have some projects here in Paraguay, and we also work with Salvador and, well, the main company that is in Chile. You will never find me as the owner of the business, but managing relationships of the company and the big accounts with partners and with the different businesses we have, because that's the reality of services. That's what the technology world is about. From very early on, when I started with my company, has been like that, and I love businesses. I love to do businesses. So that's a little bit about who I am, and any additional information you would like to know about me, you can just write to me or talk to me. So what I want to show you today, as a business owner and as a person that works every single day with business owners of different parts of the world, because I don't only work with companies from Paraguay, I am Brazilian. So I don't have any problem if you want to speak to me in Portuguese, and she said it in Portuguese. But we have business with many companies. So as an owner of a services company, and according to the services that I provide, which are services that can reach any part of the world, we can also be hired at any company in the world because of the knowledge that we have. So I saw that, I realized that, and it was a little bit overwhelming in the beginning, because when the COVID started, the market changed a lot. Before that, many companies didn't think of certain types of services. Many people didn't want to operate using everything that the internet and the technology offered us. In some markets, everything was very personal, very face-to-face. There was like, I don't know, people were a little bit mistrustful about internet or receiving or sending products. And that was the reality of several markets. But when the businesses had to close and the physical world had to stop, the digital world exploded. So digitalized operations became a great opportunity, a business opportunity for people who worked in that field, but it became also a huge challenge that for the companies that don't work with technology. That's the reality of many SMEs in Latin America. SMEs in Latin America. So things changed in a very fast way, and then we stopped being regional companies. Like in my case, no, I'm in a city in a very small country. Paraguay only has 7 million of inhabitants, and then we started working with a global market. Any company that is online can hire me, and I can, or contact me too, and I can do the same with any company in the world. And not only on my sector, which is like the one that is more oriented to the digital world. Because well, anyway, everybody needs a computer to do this kind of thing. But there are other kinds of services, and that expansion was very positive for the business growth. So it made the franchise process much easier. And in that scenario, marketing occupies a very important role, because it's what allows us to talk to the market and understand the nature of the marketing, what their uses are, or its uses are, and especially in the world of services, because the world is very changing. Okay, so we're gonna see how that has an impact on us. So a little bit talk about like this scenario. We have a world that nowadays lives through internet. That pandemic made everything changed, and many users that were not digitalized, they are now. Why? Because people needed to do different kinds of tasks, that it is education, work, or specific need to consume some product. So from 64.4% of the world population, the internet reached the 64.4% of the world population. It's more than 5,000 million active users, 4.76 in social media. And the data consumption is huge too. For you to have an idea, every minute of the day, this is what is produced of data on internet. So this information is very, very important, because every minute that we are here paying attention to a talk which is being consumed through internet, all these things are happening in the different social media or in the different platforms that are provided by the internet. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, any other type of platform or social media, the amount of data is huge. And nowadays, that's the main barrier that we have with our services. It's not like to bring the service out, it's not the capacity to provide a service, it's the capacity or the ability to compete in a market, because there are many other companies that produce the same service I produce. But the problem is to reach people who are producing and consuming that amount of data all the time. To have some idea of some numbers, we have global data about last month. We are in the first days of June, so for you to have some idea, we have 65.5, 0.57% were connected to Facebook, 12% on Instagram, and the rest of the social media. So what can we bring from that scenario? Many of the services that we offer either use the social media as a sales channel or as a communication channel, especially in Latin America. Facebook is the social media that is more used. And there are, well, different incorporations like Instagram, like WhatsApp, and everything that they have been doing in different areas. Well, we have like different versions on the metaverse. So they make it like one of the most important platforms. And it's very important to understand that scenario, because social media have become a very powerful tool for commercial purposes. But we don't spend 100% of the time thinking of buying products, just like sharing something. So you have to take into account this data, and this amount of information is very important for any company, for any product company, and also for us that work with services. On the other hand, it's very important to take into account the use of WhatsApp. Here, for example, in Paraguay and in other Latin American countries, is one of the most important tools of contact with the customer, and also to deliver like personified information or customized information. So we get the questions of the users, even when it has to do with software. We give a lot of support to companies, and they can centralize, some companies can centralize their channels, and in the end, they end up asking things on WhatsApp, because it's a one-to-one communication. Big companies in countries as Brazil, Argentina are very developed, and they use WhatsApp very, very often in this service providing activity, so that the services, providing the services to their customers work, and it's more efficient and fast. Especially in the sector of services, where it's more common that people look for a customized attention. Connection is the most important word, but especially in our business, sometimes if you don't have enough time to answer a customer request, then you're gonna lose that customer. So because they have many options to find like the same service that we offer. So the line activity grew, and the payments, the sales, and the consumption of every kind of digital service. So as we are in that sector, providing services related to internet became a huge opportunity for those who want to do business and or do some kind of change related to the digital services. So we have everything that has to do with electronic commerce and other kinds of services that are requested by people and that represent a more activity online. But one of the biggest barriers, of the biggest challenges that we have as a company, as a service company, because in certain areas it's very simple to digitalize the process, and in some areas it's more complicated because we cannot digitalize the service, all kinds of services. But we can start having like a change of behavior to start doing it and contacting the clients, the customers. Well, there are different options, different from like face-to-face services. Okay, in summary, we had the confinement that made companies and consumers to use internet much more in order to do business, even for some kinds of businesses that happen like face-to-face. But as people couldn't travel or couldn't go to the places where they needed to go, they started to sell these new experiences, like digitally. And that continues. The museums, for example, the shows, spectacles, that area was very, very hit by the pandemic, and they started thinking and offering their services online. So different concerts or shows, people had to buy the ticket, and then they just saw the kind of show online. That's still happening. What we are doing also, the calls on Zoom or educational processes still work on Zoom, and that experience has been very good. Different sectors that are in the service world came back to the traditional format, the face-to-face activities. Some of them stayed only in the online world, and some of them are hybrid. So that was a huge impact, and that happened in all kinds of markets. In the company or company consumer, B2C, and in the government sector, which is a very specific context, and it was very face-to-face at the beginning. And now we see a very huge change that started in some markets even before the pandemic, but in other markets, it was much, much bigger with the pandemic. So we have here in Paraguay a law of zero paper that exists, that has existed for a long time, but people started applying it for real not long ago. From the moment where these services couldn't be provided face-to-face. So we are seeing a whole process of billing, electronic billing, which didn't happen before. Also being able to sign documents digitally, that's another option. Everything that you do here in Paraguay needed to have an authenticated copy in a notary. And this transformation of digitalization of a personal signature affects a whole market. So we cannot deny that there were changes, and that those changes affected us all in different ways. But we have to identify like the opportunities and the threats of reduction of sales. And then we started like, we had to start working online, and even some products that were never sold online. Our cell phone became our window to the world. There was an increase of activities online, and the way people buy things also changed. So we started seeing all those opportunities, and that represent challenges. and also because many products became services. For example, music. It was unthinkable to listen to music without having a physical support. Now, many generations, for example, my children generation, they don't even know what a CD is or a cassette or a disc because they listen to the music directly as a service online. So they just know what Spotify is, what Amazon Music is, but they have no idea of what a cassette is. And with the pandemic and all the changes, we saw many other kinds of products that became services, digitalizing the way that product existed before. So in the last months, another big change that we had was the AI. Open AI, it's a project that has been developing from 2015. It was part of all these changes of the industry, of the technology industry. But someone who uses internet constantly knows what OpenAI is, ChatGPT is. They are using it. For example, I teach some of the salespeople I work with to use ChatGPT to optimize their time and their activities, and that is something that is a reality. We are at purchase of the launch of Google Bar. We know Bing also. So that diffusion of AI for all users is very important. Because on LinkedIn, I see a lot of publications of people that are talking about how that will change the market, how that will change different professions. Some kind of services are going to disappear. People say that publicists are dead, that designers are dead, that the programming companies are going to die because they will be replaced by AI. And yeah, that's true. That's true.
Realizadas por
Things
personas
that were done by people now can be done by the use of AI. So we are seeing that change, the replacement of physical products by digitalized services, a reduction of that barrier for new competitors of services, because it's very simple to create a service company now. I'm talking about my sector, I'm talking about my business area. I'm talking about marketing specifically. There are people who take a course, Udemy, or on any other platform. Even with Connect Americas, you have digital marketing courses, and with 2 or 3 clicks, they open a small marketing digital marketing business. So these services companies have less barriers because that depends on the knowledge and on a computer to exist. There are some other service sectors that are a little bit different, but most of them are going through that phenomenon. The barriers are every time less and less for a service company to go to the market. And we are seeing that in the sector, the increase of the applications or the softwares that are created by AI and that are being used by the users. Why? Because programming is also massifying, is becoming something that is very popular. We are also seeing a lot of solutions that allow you to program without having to code or low code, sorry. The platforms and services that are provided in that way and that are every time more accessible to the business owners, but also to the general public. Our market can generate its own or her own applications. They can generate their own programs. They can use AI in order to do things that other people did before. So we are going through a moment where common people and also professionals are becoming prompters. And what are prompters? A person that gives the entry to something. I've seen some ads of people that are looking for, or companies that are looking, professionals that are prompters in my area, prompters for content generation or digital marketing strategies, and then they use artificial intelligence. So all those changes can be very positive, but at the same time, very negative for business. And as business owners, we have to be prepared to face that. So what we see is that everybody wants answers, and those answers are every time more immediate and self-generated. You need to have a bot on the other side of the computer to provide a service. I mean, if a customer has a question or something, how come you don't have anyone to answer to him at any time of the day? So those changes the pandemic generated in people were like very important, and AI is also very interesting, and but at the same time, they are making easier to provide a service. So the big question is our company or are our services prepared to generate the answers the market needs? And we have to handle other things. We are all consumers or producers. Internet gave us the control to create content and generate our own tools. It's a huge change. And people are empowering the way we live our lives in a world that is partly virtual, partly physical, change the people's behavior in a general way, and also our relationship with the companies and the services that we consume and with the brands. So for those who want to sell, it's not as easy. Why? Because the competition is not only the ones that offer the same service. Any user of the network disputes the attention that we also want for our service company, but they are publishing a photo, they are publishing a reel, something nice, some kind of dance, and we are wanting to sell. And we are not competing only with people from our local market. We are competing with any service company that is in the world and that can reach in a better and easier way to this person that is wanting to consume. So the scenario is very complex, it's very, very abundant, and we have to adjust to it. So technology is favoring the service, but we have to know how to use it on our favor every single day. And something else, talking about the scenario, is that we have data there. Each interaction leaves some trace. Everything we do leaves a trace. And everything people we address our product or service to leaves a trace. So what are we doing with them? How are we capitalizing this on our favor when we make decisions, when we adjust our services according to the market or to the people? Because in the service case, sometimes it's very simple to adjust or customize something that is unique and exclusive for a person. And in other service scenarios, it's more difficult. So we have to know how to balance that delivery, but mainly to capitalize the data people leave us with each interaction in the company, to adjust and adapt better to the market and to the customers. We have to use all technology that is around us nowadays. So we have to take advantage of those users' data. And the success of a company has to do with that capacity. The more I can use those data, organize them, analyze them in order to make them critical for my business, well, we have to be data-driven in areas like mine, which is marketing. data-driven marketing is very important. All businesses that are driven by data, that's very, very common. And what we are going to accomplish like that is to customize the services, to customize our commercial offer of marketing in order to avoid a waste of resources and to be able to reach people we are interested in reaching in a much better way. They will consume our service, paying what we want them to pay for that exchange, but in a more efficient way. So don't waste your resources on people that are not interested in them. Remember, we're talking about the global market. And also, take advantage of the data allows us to align our value proposal for any person we want to establish a commercial relationship for the sale of a service. The idea is to really give the value to that person that wants to give the value that the person wants to get. In a company like mine, that is in Ciudad del Este, in Paraguay, instead of buying that same service someone is looking for with a company that is in its market of origin. For example, I have customers from Chile, and they buy from here, from Paraguay, instead of Chile. So because we give value to the products, we add value. And that's because we take advantage of the data. Now, talking about marketing, and then we reach the main point of what I wanted to talk about today. We have to understand what marketing is. That's very important, because marketing is not just selling. Marketing doesn't generate sales. It generates demand. The ones that sell are the commercial area. Because everything we saw in the digital scenario before, it's like might be a bit confusing. We as business owners, we have to understand the difference, what marketing is and what marketing can do for you. So marketing is a function. We are a staff in a business. And why are we staff? Because we touch everything in the company. Marketing is like the blood in your veins. It has to go through all areas. It has to go through the distribution channel, the sales department. Maybe it's not so common in the service area. It's more common in the product area. But if I sell some machines, then we are talking also about marketing, because the product is not born in the engineering area. The product is born out of a necessity, of a need of people. So marketing has an important role in the company, and it's a process. And what that process helps us to create something, because it has to exist. And then we have to send that value to the customers. It's very important to understand the concept of value, because if I give some value to the market, that unique concept cannot change. If I'm consuming an Airbnb service, the value Airbnb is giving me is the same that any of you, wherever you are, is also consuming. The Airbnb value doesn't change for me or for you. Its value is there, is kept. What changes is the offers, the service adjustments, the way Airbnb reaches you wherever you are. So the offer adjustment is what marketing does too, but mainly what that service does for the customer. And of course, that establishes relationships between the company, the customers, but also between the company and the ones who provide the service, so that the customer can have it. And there are some people who bet on financial services. There are different options. In the world of services, there are many different options. Sometimes people or the providers are more important than anyone else, because we depend a lot on people and of the existence of the service or on the providers. Why? Because we are not able to generate all the services or all the products that we are going to consume for our service to exist. In my case, the providers are very important. If I'm working on the digital marketing area, I have companies that are as Meta, as Google, as GoDaddy for hosting or millions of customers. Without that, I cannot generate a digital marketing campaign. I cannot host a website. I cannot develop an e-commerce project. And if I work with other technologies or more complex products uh, through a service provider, it's absolutely necessary that it is Google or Amazon or I don't know. So those providers are strategic allies for my business. So marketing doesn't only think of what as a company I deliver to the market, I give to the market. And marketing touches everything. So the service is a composition of people, processes, and delivery for it to exist. And that's the success formula. Some people call it in Spanish servuction. Servuction. Because that includes all the steps that we need to include for a service to exist. And we have to adjust what we do for our customers. And that's also part of marketing, because if we don't do that, then it's not going to work. So the first key is to understand what the opportunities of the market are. The idea is not to just keep on doing exactly the same thing. But as I said before, marketing is demand, is understanding the marketing to translate that into terms of value and adjusting things to my product. In our case, is the service, the price policies, the way my service is going to reach the market, the way I am going to communicate. That's part of it. And a strategy, the way I'm going to handle the competitors and my own business, because we know that many times the service depends on people. If I don't have people who help me to provide the service, then my service can't exist. Me as a Batman, I'm not Ana Paula only. I have a lot of people that work with me on different projects for different customers. I depend on people. I depend on those brains that are working for me, and I depend on those hands that are programming and doing things and creating the service that my customers need. So it's very important to understand that marketing doesn't sell. Marketing generates demand. But on internet, it seems that it is the same thing. We have to focus on our strategy, our commercial strategy, and our marketing strategy, taking advantage of the opportunities we have in the market. When we were talking about the scenario, we saw that there were many threats, but they are also opportunities for us. And the difference when we work, when we work from a local market to a global market, opportunities are constantly changing. So if we cannot do a good job in the local market, it doesn't mean necessarily that we cannot go to the global market. Sometimes we can be better accepted in an external market than in our market of origin, because it depends on the opportunities that you see outside. So you have to participate in events that have to do with the sector. You have to participate in conversations that have to do with the sector and that have to do with the customers you want to reach in order to know what's going on. And if I do that from here, from my market, and I cannot charge what I think my service is worth, then something is not really working. Or my service is not for that market, it's for another market that can pay more because they are more open to do that, and they are more open to the consumption of that service. So we have to participate of those events. We have to go to business rounds, business tables. And I'm not going to those places to sell something, but to see different opportunities. So we have to identify which are the segments that are relevant at a global level. We have to analyze the trends and the opportunities that those markets offer me. And then I evaluate the competitors, how the scenarios of my competitors are developing in other markets so that I can adapt. And finally, prepare the company, because I can just go out to a market, just to one of them, little by little, according to the previous analysis that I made of the competitors in order to do a good job. So one market at a time is not bad, but it all depends on our managing capacity. So how do we reach the global market? Internet is crucial, but we need to understand that we have to work with objectives. We have to define why we are there on a website or a social network. That's very important. If I want to globalize my business and if I want to be online, in order to generate that, every step that I take has to have very concrete objects. Otherwise, we increase the amount of channels, but the market starts contacting me and I don't have the conditions to do everything the market is asking me. So we have to look for alternatives in order to increase the amount of services I want to provide if I want to be online. So that presence online is very, very important. Sometimes we depend on people that help us with their services, and we can increase the amount of provided services in a very easy way. Sometimes you have to hire people that do what we need, but sometimes it's not very easy to find the quality that we are looking for. In the SAAB world, it's not so easy to find a specialist that adapts to the project the customer wants. Sometimes they reject 3 or 4 people, and then we have to look for people in 5 or 6 different markets. And then sometimes we have the language barrier. Sometimes we need someone that speaks a specific kind of Spanish because, you know, that I want to reach a specific public. You can find a great consultant, but he doesn't speak the language of the market you want to reach. So probably he's not going to be the best person for that. So all the complexity you have to understand in order to reach the global market in a better way. And also the digital media are the best one to communicate, but the main thing is to make the process easier for the buyer. When you get the information or when the customers make the purchase, we have to be prepared to generate a communication, strong communication. And the same happens if I cannot offer different ways of payment, for example. That's also very important. Content marketing is very efficient to attract a huge number of people of all around the world. We use techniques that are based on content of the browsers, but we have to understand also that the competition is any other person that is generating content. So we have to invest on paid publicity and also use like other different tools. So, okay, I'm gonna show you this. I'm not gonna go into detail, but I'll leave you some tools and social networks that you can use if you are planning to go to the global market. You need to have a website. The app it depends on the kind of service that you are offering. We have like e-commerce in some kind of services. E-commerce is very, very important to use. In others, not much. It's more like when you have to make a quotation, but everything that can make the managing the customer easier, then it's important. The social media, the messaging applications, all those things combined are very, very important. All those things make the process much easier for us. And you have to use the AI on your favor because we are also consumers. We are consumers, but we need to use our processes of service providing. And yeah, there are some tools that are more oriented to the marketing and communication area on digital media, but you will see a big list of tools that you can use according to your own service or product. Key number two, as I mentioned before, is value. Good service resolves the customer's problem. That's why the clear value proposal is ideal to reach any market. For a global service, what we need to do is to validate if that value proposal is cross-cutting to all markets and if the adjustments of the offer for certain markets are feasible. Because sometimes I think of a value proposal that is very centered on the service and not to solve the problem. And in many opportunities, the way I resolve the problem in a market of origin, in a local market, is not exactly the same as it happens in different markets. So it's very important to do that, to analyze that, because forcing what I do to other companies, in other companies, then it might not work. And the more cross-cutting it is, the better it is for me. So we have to evaluate what we propose, what we promise, and what we deliver as a brand and in the communication process too. And another important point is people. And the marketing or inner marketing is essential because you have to take into account people, because many of us in the service marketing, in the service area, we depend on people. And if we reevaluate our value proposal, we are going to realize that that is important. If those people don't understand the value of those people we have to count on, then it's not going to work. So you have to define the value proposal very clearly in your company. You have to highlight the benefits and solutions that the company offers to the global customers. And you have to adapt your value proposal to the cultures and international markets. Key number three is communication. All we transmit and we offer to the world is important. Each market has its own ways to do businesses, its own culture, its way to understand and interpret an ad. In some markets, some things, but in other markets, people are not going to react with the same ad. So we can use internet in our favor. It's easier and cheaper, but I can also have, and also I can have a better B2B, and that's also very helpful. The best results are the B2B scenarios. Sometimes they come with a customization that is one by one. And for the service sector, it's easy to do. In my case, for example, I don't have a portfolio of a million customers. I have like 15 customers that are global. And comparing talking to 15 people instead of talking to millions, well, it makes things easier, of course. Each sector, you have to understand what the adjustments for each sector are, and then act accordingly, so that we can customize the experiences people are going to have with our customer in terms of service providing and customized communication. That's why it is important to use all the technology on our favor. So you have to select those communication channels that are good to reach global audiences. You have to develop consistent messages, consistent and important messages for different markets. You have to consider the cultural and linguistic differences in the global communication, and also something that works very well for our sector, especially the ones who are in a company or company governments. We have to think of the references. That's also something very important for our services. Social networks as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter don't allow me to generate better businesses. I'm not gonna close a huge contract of a consultant company that has to do with technology, for example, on social networks, but I can use LinkedIn, or I can use my own customers or my referral network to generate those contacts and do businesses. So a company that is outside my country can get to know me and start doing business with me. That's something that works very well, more than a campaign in social networks. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. It does, but we have to select very wisely where to put our resources. Then we have the brand. A local brand is very different from a global brand. This is very important because many times our name or our design is not the right one for the market we want to start working with. And this is a mistake that the companies make, because sometimes they think of tomorrow, and that tomorrow can be in 10 years, or we don't know. But in the moment when I decided to create my brand was Balmash, it was in 2005, and I thought that at some point my brand will become global. So I thought of creating a different brand. I know it's very simple. I work every single day creating brands, but it's very important to take that into account, because we are in the service sector that sometimes it's easier to go to the global market than it is with products. Sometimes the permits don't depend on someone specific. It's complicated sometimes. And that's why it is very important, from the name, the promise, the graph, everything that we are going to deliver to the market, that has to go through some kind of analysis. There is another brand that is registered on the market, for example. Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. For example, in Brazil, it's a very close market because it's very big, but sometimes the companies want to go out to other countries, or they use some term that is offensive for a different market. It's very, very complicated. So that kills the process or makes it slower. So I have to analyze what market I want to go in and have an image of a brand at a global level that works much more easily. But don't forget the referrals. That's also very important for the final user. We have to develop branding strategies that connect with other cultures. Brand registers, names of users in social networks. We need to use something that people remember. We are going to have a profile, for example, on a social network that where people speak in Spanish. And then if you, for example, use a different language, then that's not going to work. If we want to do business with different markets, then we have to translate our website in different languages. We have to have some domains, and that's very, very important for the process. If I don't adapt my business to what people want as service consumption as the value of the brand, then it's going to be complicated. We have to adequate our strategies to different markets. And that's the key to success. We have to know and yeah, get to know other cultures in our sector. That's super important. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not that easy, but we have to focus on generating value for the internal customer and for the external customer. They are our business partners, and the internal one and the externals are the ones we do business with. Okay, in order to quit, in order to finish, I mean, the service boom allows us to have like all the technology and globalization, and that changes everything in a matter of days. In certain sectors, like the technology works and I'm creating a very nice product, but then in a few days the technology starts creating a much better product. So we have to be prepared to live in that atmosphere. Technology can improve things, but it can also kill different business that don't adjust to the new rules of the game in my local market, because the companies from outside are reaching the market, and I have to know how to compete with them. So the products become services. Digitalization of services and of knowledge for the generation of products based on knowledge of the creative industry also became services. That's an opportunity that we started seeing in the pandemic. The circular economy that allows differentiated services to happen, that's also an opportunity for the existence of new services. And the delivery of services that use artificial intelligence. Those are the main opportunities in our market, and what we generate changes in what we do in the everyday life. Thank you very much. I'll invite you to go farther to compete in the global market of services, and that is just a click away. So please keep on working with Connect America so that you keep on learning, and in the next talks we can learn something else. I am ready to answer your questions. Thank you, Ana Paula, for this complete interpretation. I remember when we met each other that you talked to me about your experience as a teacher. I feel we all had a great session of digital marketing, like with the quality of a great university. We have a lot of questions. So what are the advantages and disadvantages the Smiths have in order to provide services to the whole world? Do you think that we should invest in technology or have access to commercial databases or create innovative services? The three options are correct. I work a lot with micro and small companies, and I do a lot of voluntary work and mentoring. And I always tell people that sometimes it's just one person with a computer. They are the company. I tell them that it's not impossible. Internet makes it easier because I can use different directorates. As for example, in Connect Americas, through you look for another person that has a business, and that's also something that is important and counts. So for a small company to go to the global market is not something impossible, and it's not something that demands huge investment. In the case of databases, buying databases is not the ideal thing, but generating databases is. Because when we buy them, we have to follow the conditions of the platforms. But when we start like going to business meetings and we generate those contacts, that has more value. And technology, which is the second component, helps a lot. We have applications of all kinds that have free versions so that we can use them, at least to start interacting with them. I have a lot of entrepreneurs that do not have the possibility to pay for a consultancy service, as maybe I can do now, but they can use that technology to generate their publicity, to create some more coherent campaigns and save money. So using the technology that exists, even if it's for free, and if it's for a small consumption, it's okay. I can use it for 100 contacts. Okay, why not? But that helps you to reach other places. And of course, the third option is very valid also, because we have to be present online and we have to make that those services are more coherent. It doesn't matter if we are small. Sometimes with zero investment or with a very low investment, we are going to have success. I have cases of SMEs that have been very successful. I wasn't born with a huge investment, and here I am. 18 years later, I sell to 4 different countries. I'm in the national market too, and I don't have a huge company. It's a small company compared to other markets. So it's not an impossible mission. It's doable. Okay, I'm talking about funding. Someone is asking a very nice question. How to know if we are investing too little or too much in our digital marketing? Is there a kind of formula that allows us to know if we are doing it right? How to know? In general terms, when we propose sales objective, between 7 and 10% of what we want to reach is what we have to invest on marketing. And it depends on what kind of marketing we are talking about to see if it's more expensive or cheaper. But the budget that I have to dedicate to the digital marketing, which is a part of all my budget, because we cannot just put all the eggs in the same basket, we have to be careful. So in the service sector, especially if we are, for example, with a government company, the digital marketing, yeah, is good, but we have to do an organic part, a paid part, and it depends. We have to generate content. We have to generate the articles that attract people attention. That has value. Either I have to invest on people or I have to do it myself. I have to use networking. I have to use face-to-face events. I have to participate in certain scenarios. So 10% of what I want to sell is what you use for investment on marketing. It depends on the number of tools that I am using for my communication channels. You have to do strategic planification, price strategies. All those things are part of the total value of the investment on marketing. That would be that, between 7 and 10%. Rosa Maria Orantes is asking if you have customers. Of course, we're talking about internationalization and people that speak different languages. Do you recommend to have different accounts in different languages or speak the different languages in the same account? How to do the publications in social media? Okay, again, that depends on what kind of service you are going to sell. In my case, for example, that I'm a company of technological marketing, the main reference of a customer will be my website. My website is in 3 languages, Portuguese, English, and Spanish. Our main market is Latin America, so it's in Spanish, the website's in Spanish, and but we have also to offer the simultaneous translation. So you can think of a social network that is in Portuguese or in English. But when we're talking about more massive consumption, if I have a franchise of a customer, for example, that I have that sells knives, they are from Brazil, but they want to go to the Paraguayan market. So it's necessary that the service or the product that they are offering, I'm talking about the franchise. So everything that a company wants to sell so that they can sell the knives, they have to adapt the manuals to the new market so that the franchise service can exist in different places. So that's also important to take into account. In some cases, there are accounts that are done according to the city. If I'm selling a specific service, then I have to think of a specific public. So in many cases, you need a regional social media because the market from Bogota, for example, in Colombia, is not the same that in a different city. So you have to think of the dimension of the operation and the type of service that you are selling. But in the technology services, what I see is, yeah, what I just mentioned. If I am very strong in the market, I will have profiles and social media and LinkedIn in each country, in the language of each country, in English if it's the States or well, any other market. And the website translated to different markets, of course, because that's essential for decision making. Okay, Paula, thank you very much. It's 1:06 in Colombia. Thank you very much to everybody that was here. You will be able to interact with Ana Paula when you go, if you go to Jamaica. So thank you very much for being here. Remember that we are going to be here all week at this same time with different topics. Once more, Ana Paula, thank you very much. And then we'll see you soon. Okay. Bye-bye. I'm going to leave my contact information here. See you on the social media. Thank you.